Hey, sheeple of the internet. Broke Chick here. My colleague from work asked me how my garden was doing, wanted an update. So here we are, 7th of July, and this is where we're at. So the peas, I got them in early June. So they've had 5 weeks. And they're starting, you can see the flowers and there's pods in there. So we're starting to pick those. The peas here at Broke Chick Farm never make it to the table. They get eaten in the field by me and the kids. So this is the first 2 rows of potatoes. And they came up right nice. Again, those were early June. Got those in before all the rain and they came up nice. This is the second row of potatoes. Again, 3 weeks later, planted those. So they're a little later and they weren't as well chitted. And the chickens got in before I got the snow fence on. So this is a pretty simple chicken deterrent. This is snow fence and rebar. And I've just stretched it across as tight as I can. And it's sitting up on top of the plants. When the leaves start to pop through, I'll just pull them through a bit like that and let it sit up on the top. At a certain point, I'll probably fill in the gaps if I can find some more potatoes that have gone in the cupboard. I'll probably fill in some of the gaps where potatoes didn't come up. But that makes it pretty easy. You see, it's just 4 pieces of rebar, 2 at either end, and stretch it tight. So it works. It's not 100%, but in a way it's more of a psychological barrier because they just can't see through the orange fencing. Like the chickens just can't see what's under there, so they're just not interested. I find with the birds, a lot of time it's out of sight, out of mind. In fact, like that's why the barricade with the black plastic on the compost bins, because the chickens are on the other side of that, but they can't see the garden, so they don't come in. Zucchini are doing really well. They already have flowers just about ready to pop there. I planted them directly in the compost this year. This compost wasn't quite finished, so because I was going to leave it to the fall, I hated just having it sit there, so I thought the zucchini plants take up a lot of space. Perfect, put them right here. So I got 2 zucchini plants and they're doing really good. You can tell by the color of the nice deep green of the leaves that they're liking it there. So this is the beans. I planted them in raised beds. I did a little video on that. You go back a couple videos, you'll see I did a planting video where I showed the easy way to plant beans. And again, you can see my fence, when the leaves get to a certain point, I just pull them up through. Again, it's just being kind of held back by a rebar. But I have some old pool frame struts there, and I'm just using them to hold it up a bit. But I'm hopeful I'll be able to, once these are leafed out, I'll be able to take them right off because they're in boxes and the chickens won't be able to scratch it out. But you can tell there's something deficient in this soil right here. The other ones are fine, but this one here, this variety is struggling. This is a different variety than that. And this one's struggling in here. I don't know what this is. I'm going to assume it's a deficiency. Could be a bug, I suppose. Might be leaf miners. Either way, needs a healthy plant in healthy soil can deal with pests. So I'm going to throw chicken manure on these sometime this week. I'll mulch in between the plants, not on them, but in between them, and then I'll cover that all with straw. You can see I use the Ruth Stout method of mulching with straw. This retains moisture in the garden, and also I don't have to weed. I don't have time for that. I don't know anybody that does. Onions are doing great. A few misses in there, but generally most of them came up. I didn't plant any garlic, I forgot. So, gonna have to do that. I got some celery over here. I was late. I bought it too far ahead and then I couldn't get it in the ground because it was too cold. There was frost, late frost. So it struggled a little bit, but you can tell by the healthiness of the leaves that it finally took. So they're all right. And wow, we had rain on Thursday. We had a torrential rain on Thursday. And this is Tuesday. So it's been 5 days. And this is what the straw does. Can you hear that? It is soaking wet under there. Just soaking, wringing wet. The straw is going to retain all that. So it's really good for the roots of the plants. This was a nightmare. I planted a cucumber 3 times. And something kept climbing out of the compost and eating them. Like just literally eating them. And I was like, that's it. I'm done with that. I wasn't going to plant again. And I thought, I'm going to try marigolds in between the plants. And they struggled a bit. And I need to mulch in here. I'm going to have to put some chicken manure in here because it's not... I just threw the dirt in there because that's a half pallets that I got. And that's the compost behind it. And then I just closed off the compost with a bit of that green fencing. And that'll give the cucumber something for me to tie it up to. But yeah, whatever was eating them, stopped eating them. I think the marigolds worked. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Oh yeah, I forgot about the tomatoes. I've got ground cherries and tomatoes over here, and they all took all right, but I can tell that the ground cherries just are not doing great. I really do think they need manure, so I'm gonna throw some chicken manure mulch on there this week sometime. I used the tires basically in case the chickens got in here to keep them from, and yeah, I always put my tomato cages on right at the start because I have chickens. That little piece of wire right there can keep the chickens from digging stuff out. And having this little tiny gap in between kind of deters them from even trying to get in there. I have done other little barricades. The tomatoes are doing good though. They're doing better this week. They were looking kind of scruffy last week. But they do need manure. I will side dress these with manure this week too. But yeah, I use this green fencing. The chickens don't see it. It's a great psychological barrier. They just kind of don't seem to comprehend that it's a fence. They'll walk back and forth beside it and not really understand that it's a fence. And so they won't go over it. To me, it's like some kind of optical illusion to them. So I used it a lot in the garden in past years. But yeah, I used it. I wrapped it tightly when the plants were very small, when it was just like the cotyledon leaves. I wrapped this really tight around the tomato frame. But then as the plant grew, I'm just expanding it around. And eventually I won't need it because the leaves will be big enough. The plant will be substantial enough. The chickens won't even try to get in there with it. But then it'll be producing and the zucchini will be enough to keep them from getting toward the roots. So that's where we're at so far. So I hope your garden is doing well. Plant something every day.